apparently I've got to introduce myself. We'll get to that bit later. Innovation, that's the topic. Are you in the right place? Theater 1? Yes, 55 minutes? Are you okay with the idea of an interactive session? Because I can hear you. Even the people at the back, I can hear you. Yes, I see, I can hear you. Okay, so what I thought we should do was try to make it, rather than just sort of a one-way thing, keep it interactive. We'll try to have breaks. I'll try and make sure we get questions. There aren't people with microphones running around. So if you want to participate, just shout out. Be very impolite and just shout out. So if I tell you a little bit about what I'm planning, quick advert alert. Okay, so this bit you don't have to listen to for the next minute or so. This is the sort of about me bit. Okay, so sleep. Okay, so my name is Eddie Obeng. I'm a counselor at the Design Council. And the Design Council is, I've just put questions up there, which you can read faster than I can speak. So it's a strategic body. The idea is around innovation, but design-led innovation. So that's one of the things I do, which is I'm a counselor at the Design Council, which is which is funded by BIS. The other thing I do also is I run a virtual business school, which I'll tell you about, and then I've done all sorts of other strange things. So as I tell you stories, can we have a deal? I'll tell you stories not because I'm showing off, but because I want to give you real concrete examples of innovation, okay? If we don't have that deal, I always feel a bit embarrassed to talk about myself. So is that okay? Yes? Okay, great. Okay, so when we talk about doing things differently, I spend a lot of my life doing things differently. The business I just mentioned, this virtual business school, this is my world. This is where I live. I live in cyberspace most of the time. Okay, I've been doing it for about 15 years. I run an organization which has worldwide clients, you know, large companies like people like Danone, people like Heineken, brands you've heard of, Cadbury's, and so on. My total team is a team of 5 people. We operate out of 5 countries, and we support huge organizations. And so obviously we're not doing it the same way everyone else is. There's something going on. So I've been on that journey from the inside, okay? So I'll try and share with you things I've learned, how you feel when it works, how you feel when it doesn't work, and I'll be honest. Because the problem is when you read the case studies, they whitewash out all the bits which are sort of iffy. I don't know whether you're here for the earlier session, but there was an invitation by the speaker to make confessions on what had gone wrong in the last election with the civil service putting everything together, and the opportunity to sort of come clean with all the dirt was missed. So I'll try and come clean. The other reason I'm here, apart from the fact about what I've done, is I've also been working a lot with the civil service. I helped Sir Gus O'Donnell with his top 200 team about a year or so ago, a year and a bit ago, really looking at the same topics. So hopefully I've understood where you're coming from, at least at the top level. So is there anything else you need to know about me, or we just go? Just go? Fantastic. Okay, so my plan was a little bit around this design-led innovation bit. Why innovation now? What's it about? How can it help you, yourselves, your organization, the civil service? Why design-led? Why design-led? Why not come up with new, funky things? What's design got to do with civil service? What do I need to explore, and how do I make it happen? That was my plan, and I put that plan together before I met you, okay? So it's a bogus plan, because I need your inputs. And I want you to imagine that the next 50 minutes is brilliant. I mean, you learn stuff about how to innovate, which transforms your life. I mean, it's brilliant. It's the best hour of the whole conference. In fact, it's so good, it's the best hour of your whole life. This is not very likely, okay? But you never know, some people. Okay, so what would have to happen? What would you like to learn in the next hour to make it so fantastic for you? Question 1. Question 2, I want you to imagine the next hour is a disaster. I don't mean just a small disaster. I mean mega disaster, okay? What did I do wrong? What went wrong, okay? So those are the 2 questions. Your biggest hopes, what you want from the session, what you'd like to learn, what you'd like me to share with you, and your biggest fears. I'm going to propose something which is a bit strange, which is you have to talk to the colleagues around you. So I'm going to suggest that you sort of chat to the people close to you in 2s or 3s, huddles. It's only going to last for 2 minutes, okay, so you'll be fine. Okay, to say, what do we want? And then I'll capture the first half a dozen or so, and we'll use that to make our agenda in detail. Deal? Your 2 minutes have started. Let's go. You okay? How are you doing? Good to see you. Great, superb. Hi, Steve. Give me some good hopes, yeah? Seconds left. Okay, let's go for it then. So, any hopes, any fears? What do you want to start with, the hopes or the fears? Start with the hopes. Positive people. Go for it. Hope. You've got a team of people who are opposed to change. Okay, so you recruited these people and you've managed and trained them to make them... I got it, I understand. Any others? How to get rid of bureaucracy. Okay. You want to get rid of all the bureaucracy or just some of it? Okay. Any trick you're missing? Yeah. Is there a trick? And also there's a group up there who said that they wanted to be able to take risks, but within the sort of, is that right? Have I phrased it correctly? How to be innovative in a risk-averse culture. And there's a group there who wanted to do the same thing as you, but they didn't want to end up looking like nutters. Okay? And there's a hand up here. Go for it. There's a hand up here somewhere. Missed it, missed it. Go for it. Okay. Okay, I've got that. Okay, that's probably all I can do in an hour, to be honest. I'm sorry about that. So fears, what don't you want to happen next? What don't you want to happen in the next 49 minutes? Nothing? Come away with nothing? There was a hand up there. Ah, lots of talk, but no action. Okay. I used to have a boss, and he used to say, lots of heat and no light. That was his expression. Okay, no action. Great. Okay, any others? Any other fears? There's one up there. No new idea. So a whole 40 minutes, not a single new idea. Okay, so you would like to, you'd prefer to have some. Okay, great. And a final fear, maybe? One last fear, one last fear, one last fear. Going once. Boredom we had up here. Was yours the same, sir? Dictated. Boredom. What would you like us to do next? I love that. He says, big dictators. I said, what would you like us to do next? He goes, I don't really mind. That's fantastic. Okay, thank you very much. So I've got nothing useful. You come away with nothing to do, lots of talk, no action. There's no new ideas, and you're bored, and you'd get a dictator. Result? Great. Okay. So what do we do next? 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 What's the next step? What's the next step? Sorry? What do we do? Fears? Disasters. Well, we've listed our hopes and fears. Is this how you normally sort of engage with anything new you're going to do? Do you sit around together and you go, right, what are the objectives? And you discuss them, and you say, well, now what are you worried about? And then you discuss those as well. Is that normal, or is it? Has this ever happened to you? I'm going to go back on the stage, yeah? Has this ever happened to you that you go to a meeting and somebody's announcing the new changes, something which is going to happen, some big change which has happened, and you're sitting there and you can see that this thing isn't going to work. There isn't enough resource, there isn't enough connectivity, I don't know what it is. And I know you're good, decent civil service people, but do you always put your hand up and say, this will never work because? How many times are you allowed to do that and still have a career? Okay, so normally you're sitting with your friend, yeah? So you nudge your friend in this big forum, and you nudge your friend because you've spotted what's wrong. You whisper to them, shh, and your friend laughs, hee hee hee, because now two of you know there's a problem. You with me? And then what happens is you leave the meeting, and then exactly as you predicted it, it all goes wrong, yeah? And you meet your friend in your corridor, and you say, hey, do you remember where to that thing? And they said, and it all happened, and you laugh together because you're happy you predicted it went wrong, and it went wrong. Has this happened to your colleagues? Now, one of the things which is really crucial about trying to get innovation moving forward is we have to get past that. Part of the reason you don't put your hand up is partly because you don't know what will happen to you. The forum hasn't been made very safe. Even if you look at how I asked you for your fears, I said chat with your friends and then tell me your fears. You with me? So I sort of depersonalized it a little bit. I mean, I've only got 60 seconds. I can only do so much. But think about it. If I come up here and said, okay, what are your greatest fears for the next 50 minutes? How many of you would have said, look at this, look what you've written up there. You say, you know, as I came in, you thought, he looks like a boring professor, he's got old ideas, and anyway, he'll just dictate to us. So if I said, any fears, would you have said, yeah, you're a boring person? No, you wouldn't. Are you with me? It's rude. It's rude. So what happens instead? I ask you your hopes and fears, you discuss, yeah, he looks like a boring guy, no ideas, I can tell, okay? So I said, what are your greatest fears? You go, we don't want you to be boring. It's not me who said it's my friend. Are you with me? So you have to create an environment where people feel safe to share these things. Very, very crucial. Second thing is, especially when people are starting on the journey of doing things differently, they're really scared about getting anything wrong. They're scared about things going wrong. Does anyone wake up with extra passion and energy to work day and night on something they think is going to fail? No, they never do they? So the reason I've asked your fears is I want to bring them up to the surface so we can eliminate them. Then we can go on with trying to transform what we're trying to do. The sooner I bring them out, the better. Yeah? In those great forums where you don't want to put your hand up, the person on the stage never ever asks you. Even though there's so much experience about what could go wrong, they never ask. I don't know why, but they don't. Okay? So, now we've got all your fears, I need to do something about them, don't I? Or should I just say, thank you for your fears. Now, here's a really boring example. What should I do? Ask the public, actually. So, okay, we've got the fears up there. We want to probably get rid of them. Should I wait till the end? And then, no. Okay, 3 ways to deal with people's concerns. Method number 1, traditional what's known as consultation process. You collect lots and lots of fears and concerns, okay? And then when you collected them all, you suddenly realize how many there are. And then you file them in a special filing cabinet where the name of the filing cabinet is file 13, okay? That's method number 1. Method number 2, this is for sophisticated organizations like yours. You collect lots and lots of concerns, issues, and so on. And then you sit around one of these grids with high, medium, low. Do you do this stuff? High, medium, low. And then you write here P, probability, here, impact. And clever people sit around, you guys, you think really hard, consider the first one. And after about 5 minutes, you come to the conclusion, medium. Amazingly, every single one is medium. There are never any in the high box. Why? Because if you make the mistake of actually putting anything in this box, what happens to you? Grief. Of course, you're not going to put anything in that box. So I could use those 2 methods on your fears. Is that a good plan to get you innovative and dynamic and moving quickly? No, I have to get rid of your fears. So I'll remind you how you get rid of fears. It's very easy to remember how to get rid of fears because you've been trained already. I don't need to teach you anything. You were trained secretly whilst you thought you were watching science fiction films for entertainment. Did you not know this? Science fiction films are basically there, and the whole point of them is to teach you how to eliminate people's fears and risks. That's what it's about. Think about it, they're all the same. Apart from Avatar and E.T., they involve what? Aliens. What's the job of an alien? Travel through many light years, galaxies, come to Earth in order to eat you. That's what they do, isn't it? So I want you to imagine an alien spaceship has crash landed just by those jugs of water, and I'm walking towards it. What advice would you give me as I approach an alien spaceship? Run. Run which way? Run away. Why? Why should I run away? Because it is dangerous. Absolutely. You're frightening. Why would I go there? They never do that in the films, do they? Oh, wait, it's an alien. Would you travel millions of light years? No, I've never met an alien, and I've never met anyone who has met an alien and survived. but you're right. But let's do what you propose, which is what they do in the films, isn't it? They go, oh, that looks really interesting. And they run towards the spacecraft. And the rest of us, not you, the rest of us going, don't go, it's dangerous, okay? And they run to the spacecraft, okay? Now, if you're not giving me such good advice, I might have done the same thing and gone in just to see. Because aliens, they could be nice people, you never know. So you always go in, and the thing about alien spacecrafts, however small they are when you're outside, the moment you enter them, they're enormous, am I right? Huge. So I'm wandering around, I can't find any aliens. I go, hello, any aliens? Aliens. And then the music starts. And you come around the corner, and all of a sudden, your face-to-face isn't the right expression. You're looking at this long, slimy, pubbly, purple thing with tentacles and teeth. Just here. What should I do? I'm standing right next to an alien which is just about to have me for lunch. Say hello. Hello, I'm your lunch. What do? Run. But they have tentacles and slimy things. So if I start to run, he'll just go with his tongue and pull me back. So what do I do before I run? Kill it. Oh, you're really cruel. But it's a good plan. Let's kill it. Do I wait until it's eaten half of my leg before I kill it? No, I kill it right up front, right at the beginning, yes? Kill it now, that's what you do. Okay, they never do that in films. 3 of them enter the spacecraft. They immediately say the magic words, let's split up. One of them arrives with the music. Have you seen these things? One of them arrives with the music. It has a laser blaster. They always have laser blasters and mobile phones. Which one do they choose? Do they choose the laser blaster or the mobile phone? Mobile phone, they call a friend. They go, hey, there's something really slimy and interesting here. And then it suddenly gets cut off. Have you seen this? And you press, hello, we've lost communication. Then they come running. When they arrive, there's no sign of their friend, just an alien with a big stomach. Do they kill it? Or do they take it home to the laboratory for study? And they lock it in the laboratory, they contain it, and then they get somebody to keep an eye on it. Who do they select? The smart cadet who will really watch it? Or do they select the mad scientist who wants to do experiments? Mad scientist. This is what's known as monitoring. And the mad scientist always goes into the room when everyone's asleep, prods it with his electrode-y things, it wakes up, grabs him by the throat, kills him and escapes through the ducts, leaping out, randomly biting people as it goes. Finally, the only way to get rid of it is to blow up the whole space station, which is what's known as Plan B. Now, that 5-stage process, if you're a serious innovator, you play this tape all the time. Because when you're doing something new, there is a very high probability it's not going to work. In fact, it's a massive probability it's not going to work. So what you do is you spend a lot of your time trying to make it more likely it'll work, engaging more people, listening to more people, getting the fears, working out what the issues are, and then removing them up front. It saves you energy, it saves time. If you're not sure about something, you try it out on a small scale. It's called parallel prototyping. You try it. You mock it up. I mean, if you want to make, I don't know, a new process for, I don't know, providing benefits, don't go through the whole computer system. Get some bits of paper and put them on the desk and pretend that they're the screens of the computer and scribble on them what would be on the computer. And then with your friends, walk through them and read out what you're supposed to be doing and see if it's going to work. Are you with me? You don't need to build it to test it. Does that make sense? So this whole process of driving innovation is really very key. It's a different way of thinking about it. And what I'd like to do is try and build a little bit more on the why now. One of the challenges we've got at the moment is that everyone's sort of a bit stressed because apparently there's a recession and the bankers spent all our money and our pensions and that. Have you heard about this? Okay. The bit I want to share with you is actually that we're missing the right point. The bankers didn't. Some of them are greedy, most of them are greedy, that's why they go and do that sort of job. Hello, if you're not a greedy person, why would you want to go and earn billions and millions and millions? I mean, it doesn't make sense, does it? You go, I'm not greedy, but I make millions and millions. It's not real. Are you with me? So, as a natural rule, it's people who like making lots of money. But what's really funny, I don't know if you saw this on the news, but there was a company called Lehman Brothers, which was one of the big ones which really crashed with a horrible lot of debt. And the boss of Lehman Brothers was a chap called Richard Full, not a very pleasant man, doesn't matter. But what's really interesting was, up until his organization went bust, he was still buying the wrong debt, the toxic debt, because he thought he was making more money. Did you watch that? What I'm trying to say is, the mess we're in at the moment is not planned. Most people just didn't get what was going on and got it wrong. And I've got a 5-minute little video clip I want to share with you And then when I start building on innovation, hopefully it'll make life much, much easier for you. So let me kick that in. Allows me not to talk and be a dictator. Okay? And we'll see what happens. Let's see what happens. I think it's this one. Be good to me. Oh, heck, no sound. Sorry about that. One thing I forgot. Should I start again? I'll start again with the music. I'm sorry about that. Okay, sometimes these things happen. Innovation happens that way. I'm not it's just my attempt to try and get the microphone into a better place. Okay, here we go. too fast. Just 1 minute, just discussion, then we move on. Yeah? Okay, so thoughts, comments, questions, ahas, reaction. Too fast compared to the real world out there? We tried to design it so it would be so frustrating because you couldn't quite keep up with it. Is that right? Yeah? Okay. And, some people could. Great. Okay. We need you. Because what we were hoping to demonstrate with that was things like, when we were at school, they taught you things like, you need to have all the answers yourself and you must know what's going on, stuff like that. Do you remember that? Okay. So what happens is you assume that all the learning has to come from you. So when you're reading it, although we're in an auditorium of 200 people, you're assuming you have to learn all the answers. Because that's the way we've been trained. What we're talking about when we're talking about innovation is things like shared learning. I knew a bit of it. I understood a bit. I didn't hear that bit. What about that? I had this idea, and we put it into a pot together. It's a completely different way of thinking about it. It's a different way of thinking about absorbing information, bringing other people's inputs. Because remember, since you were quite young, you were tested on your own. You were made to work on your own. In fact, working with your colleagues was what was known as cheating. Do you remember those days? So deep in your psyche somewhere, collaboration to bring ideas, to create better ideas out of them, is not programmed yet. Does that make sense? So that's partly why it's slightly too fast. What else? What else? What else? Absolutely. And for you, looking at the changes happened even in the past 8 weeks, and just thinking about that jelly feeling is really important. What does it mean? It means that it's going to continue changing. I was listening to the earlier presentation where they were saying, they were talking about change and trying to understand it and realizing things won't be the same again. Yeah, they'll be different, but it doesn't necessarily mean they'll be worse. They'll just be different. And one of the key things, and this is a little aside, which I wasn't going to do on this innovation thing, but I thought would work for this audience, is I gave you 2 bits of paper. I don't know whether you spotted it or not. So one of them basically says innovation, and then the other one looks like this. Did you see this one? Okay. Okay. What you're supposed to do is you're supposed to fold it in half. And what I've tried to do there is just try and do a sort of a New World guide to the jelly. Okay. I'm not going to go through it, but look at it at your leisure. I just brought it because I hoped it would help you. Things you can do to give yourself resilience so that you can cope with the jelly without going, when will it all end? Are you with me? So that's what that one's about. So absolutely, just like jelly. Anything else? Anything else? Anything else? Anything else? Yes, please. It's fantastic, isn't it? And that was when the really inspiring music was on. Duh, duh. I thought people would get up in the no? Too shy. Yeah. But if you look at the green stuff, that's why it's interesting. When I start describing, you go, yeah, we're doing lots of that. But before I described what was going on, you just thought it was a muddle. What happens is you have to stop doing the old world stuff and continue doing the new world stuff. I watch people, and they do this sort of thing where they do something which is new, and then they do the old stuff just for good measure. So they'll do things like they'll email a colleague, then they'll phone them to find out whether they got the email, and then after about 3 or 4 emails, they'll sit down and say, let's get together and discuss this and work it through in our minds. So they do all the old communication which didn't work, and then finally they have a brainstorming session. So why didn't they do that at the start? So when you look at your diary, you'll discover there's lots of stuff you're doing, which I did this experiment, and I'll share it with you. I got a group of people together, and I said, could you keep a diary for a week on a spreadsheet, wait 4 months, and see of the work you did in that week, what was useful, i.e. helped the organization, or made your life better? Do you know what the average percentage was? 15%. It's frightening. I almost quit my job to join them. These guys get full-time salaries. Are you with me? 15% means that Monday they do nothing, Tuesday they do nothing, Wednesday they're playing, Thursday they're still playing, Friday the bell rings at 10:23, real work time. I'm joking. They're busy. They're rushing from one meeting to another. They haven't rethought their processes. They haven't rethought how they do things. So, for example, they always sit for their meetings. All their meetings last 1 hour. Why an hour? I don't know why it's an hour. Does anyone know why we use an hour as a basis? I mean, I can understand a month if you were a fisherman, because the fish come up when the moon comes up. I can understand a year if you were a farmer, because you plant the crops and they grow. But why is it an hour? So why is it a whole hour? Why don't we do 15-minute meetings? We all talk fast, done, go. Save 45 minutes a day. Oh, it's set up in Outlook. Outlook. That's my point. Do you understand old world and new world? Okay, now I want to move into the innovation space particularly. The problem with innovation is no one's against it. Not enough people are against it. Why is that a problem? The reason it's a problem is because it means they don't think about it, because they go, oh, it must be good. And it's not. It's dangerous stuff. Look, often it gets sort of mixed up with, and I've got a whole bunch of slides, I'm just going to pick randomly, so don't worry about them as they come up. Often it gets mixed up with just doing things differently and trying to, no, that's the wrong one. Okay, moving on. Trying to make things change. A while ago, I had to think about what's this innovation thing about? Is it just wild creativity, or what? And I have this slide here, which if I can get to quickly, I'll share with you. It's of one of my most favorite inventors. His name is Michael Killian. Okay, anyone heard of him? This is the man who invented the sideways bicycle. No? Innovation isn't about wackiness. Innovation isn't even about being creative. Innovation is a very specific thing. It's a process of turning new, and I put the word new in brackets, you saw when it went up earlier, ideas into benefits, brackets, money. It's a process. What happens is we get sort of all the wacky new Apple iPhone-y things. Interesting. But if they don't turn into something valuable, it's not innovation. And the reason we think that way is because traditionally we weren't really looking for very much innovation. If you talk to most organizations or most professors from 20, 50, 30 years ago, they would tell you that the way you do innovation is you collect lots and lots and lots of ideas. That's the most common way people think about it. Collecting ideas or generating ideas. Then you put them into a funnel. And the more ideas you put in, the more stuff is supposed to come out here. Bad news, it's not true. I did this experiment on one of my clients, Sony. We looked at the years when they got more ideas coming in the top, and what we found was less came out. Do you know why? Imagine you were involved in this process. When you've got 5 ideas, you've still got a budget of half a million to look after them. When you've got 100 ideas, you've still got a budget of $500,000. So what do? You've got to kill them off. Yeah? So which ones do you kill off? Do you kill off the wacky ones, or do you kill off the sort of sensible ones? Kill off the wacky ones. So you get more time spent killing off the wacky ideas, so you actually deliver less innovation, more mundanity. Do you understand what happens? The mechanics is very strange. And the way I try and get people to understand this process, I want you to imagine rabbits. Can you imagine bunny rabbits? Yeah, rabbit. I'll try and draw a rabbit. Rabbits has got teeth like that, hasn't it? They've got noses and then fluffy ear things. Well, sort of. Okay. And the statistics you saw earlier on the video, what's it, 100,000 to 1. So imagine you had 100,000 ideas from the civil service, and you want to get them from Olympia to the other side of London. You go, yeah, go! So these poor ideas, rabbits, have to, I'm trying to use them as rabbits so you'll feel some empathy towards them. You got it? Okay. So, you would hate that, anything bad to happen to that rabbit. So anyway, the rabbits start hopping, 100,000 of them, and they're hopping along, they come to the first road, wah, half of them are squashed, blood everywhere. You with me? And then they go a little bit more, somebody grabs them, puts them in the pot, and then finally they get to the other side end of London, just one rabbit limping. That's 100,000 to 1. And that's the way we used to do it in the old world, because actually we didn't care. We were not looking for volumes of innovation. Just a little bit of innovation would work. You're talking about transformation. You're talking about major transformation, really thinking how you're doing. You need the ideas. 100,000 to 1 is not a good strategy. What would make more sense? To launch 100,000 rabbits and let them get squashed and killed and finally make it? Or to launch fewer rabbits, train them up and build up their muscles? Work together, do the learning, collaborate, try and ask the question, what would have to change about this idea to make it absolutely brilliant? You with me? Then when they're ready, you start them off on the journey, and you close the roads for them. Rather than trying to kill off ideas, rather than saying an idea is not good enough, you say, what can we do to help this? How can we move it forward? And what I did was I spent a lot of my time trying to understand in real life where the ideas get killed. And that's what these cards are about. So this one here, which I put up here for you, I'm just trying to describe here, first of all, the rabbits going to the funnel. Got that? So you won't forget that. The rabbits going on their journey. Hopefully you won't forget that one. And here, I just put a little bit of a note at the bottom here. I found that there were 5 places where ideas get killed in practice. The first is what we call creating the opportunity, this one here. That is how we organize ourselves to create, capture, manage, and improve ideas. I don't think you have any problem with that. I've sort of watched through the process, civil service. I don't think you have any problem with creating ideas. I think capturing them is different. For me, capturing them, the best photograph I have, which explains capturing ideas, is, be fast if I can find it, that'll be great. I think it's, be good to me. God's not being good to me at the moment. No, not that one. Sorry. I will find it. I promise. No! Be good to me. Oh, well, the monster's eaten it. You can't have it. Okay? I can't believe I can't find it. Oh, be good. Oh. I found this one, which is one, not that one, not that one. At this point, you're going to get bored and go, why don't you just carry on? Okay, that's the one. Gotcha. Okay, that's the one I wanted to share with you. This is one of my favorites. Photograph. What do you think? This is what we mean by capturing ideas. When you capture ideas, it means the ideas are not from you. The spark of innovation comes from a need. Do you understand what's happened here? You've probably seen things like this. Somebody has designed this thing, but they didn't really look at how people are engaging with it. So subsequently, we had to put all these bits on there. I've got another one. Which way do I want to go? I'll go that way. Go backwards. Another one of mine is this one here. This is one of my friends, a chap called Matt Hunter. And he has an 8-hour film, which he shot in a hospital while he was being moved around like a patient on his back. So he became a patient, lay on the trolley, and then went through the operation process with his camera so he could see what it looked like. 8 hours like that. You should go and watch it. So when we're talking about capturing ideas, we look for pull, ideas which come from people. Why is that useful? Because if you can find solutions to things people think are really, really important, people think are really, really important, one of the things which you then discover is that you can come up with solutions which have no waste, because you're not doing anything which isn't useful to them. This is what's called a workaround. This is somebody with arthritis who's figured out how to open bottles to get their medicine. You with me? So if you observe them, people solve the problem. They stick stickers on things. Are you with me? If you solve it. So what it's telling this company is that cap there, which they think is probably beautifully designed, is completely useless. And it's the same with processes. It's the same with everything. This one here is a lady who was struggling to control her spending on her credit card. So she used to freeze it. So if she wanted to buy something, she had to thaw it out. And that gave her several hours to decide whether she still wanted it. Now you laugh, but that's again, having observed people and captured that idea, what could you turn that into? Well, if you were a bank, maybe you have a credit card system where you want to buy something and you have a 24-hour go and think about it and come back. Maybe that would save people a lot of debt. Processes are the same. I was thinking about the process of setting up just now. I asked for lots of bits of kit. I put it all on the web so that the team could look at it. But somewhere in the process, the bureaucracy got in the way. So when I arrived, nothing was set up. It's interesting. If you're watching that, think of the waste. Did you see me on my knees? Did you see everyone running around? That's just not centered around the user again. So for me, the bit which is really important is the actually observing piece. The second one which I want to try and pick up for you because of the hopes and fears you had for me was the bit about engaging people and moving through this whole process of being rigid in an organization. And that's this bit about here about engaging commitment. And in fact, what I've tried to do is on the back here, I've given you my ultimate tool for engaging commitment. Human beings are really strange animals. We're all designed the same way. How are we designed? We're designed so that when change happens to us, we don't suffer too much. Let me explain how. 4.5 million years ago, when we used to do hunter-gathering for a living, there was a high probability you'd get hunted and gathered by other animals. So one of the things which happened during our evolution was we got set up so that in the backs of our necks, just about here, there's a piece of software which is designed so if some animal makes a noise close to you, you run. You know, noise close to you, ah! You don't sit around thinking about it, what was that noise? Are you with me? You don't start to think, discuss, you just run. Now, why is that useful? Because in those days, it helped us get away from the animals. Bad news is everyone still got it today. So when you go with a new idea and you say, hey guys, what you need to do is, as you push out your new idea, unfortunately, you trigger the software in the person's neck, which is just about here. It's called the amygdala, and they think they're going to get eaten. You with me? Now we understand resistance to change. Look, if you try and change people by saying, change, you must do it differently, you start to talk logically. What they see is an animal coming to eat them. It doesn't matter how clever you are. If you don't believe me, think about it. If you use your logical brain while you're about to be eaten, it's going to be too slow. So what happens is you switch into your instinct, but also you get the emotional move. When somebody's reacting to you emotionally, can logic ever beat emotion? Did you try it at home? Your other half says, you don't really love me. You say, yes, I do, I can prove it. And you start to list things. Did it work? No. You with me? So on this side, a surprise always generates emotion, which means that logic will not work. On the other hand, have you noticed I keep asking you questions? Do you know what questions do? Questions work slightly higher up. Questions mean that when you ask a question, the person starts to answer. As they start to answer and they start to think about it, they get interested in it. You understood this? So, think about the alien story. Think about any of the stories I'm telling you. I bring the situation. Has it ever happened to you? You go to a meeting, you put your hand up. What happened? Oh, I feel really nervous. I talked to my friend. Why does this happen? Etc. I'm using a process, and it's called issue, data, question, and build. And it's the best technique I know for bringing new ideas to people. Tell them the situation which they already recognize. Then give them some facts. Then rather than you going, ha-ha, aren't I clever coming up with this idea, ask them a question which allows them to invent part of the idea and then have the discussion together. If you do it that way, people are much more likely to come along with you and not resist change. The other thing, and the last bit I'm going to try and give you as a practical thing to try and do, is you know how we have the curves of the world speeding up? One of the issues and one of the reasons that you're talking about the straitjacket is because once you can learn fast and the world is changing, one of the key things you do when you can learn fast and the world is changing is you start the process of building a big hierarchy, because this person knows best. They tell that person, they tell that person, they tell that person, and everyone does the right thing. Am I right? Okay. Young people join where? And you tell them one day they too will be at the top, and they believe you? No, what normally happens is the organization keeps growing below them. You got that? So what happens over here is that when you're doing something, somebody should tell you what to do. So if you get it wrong, you failed. If you failed, how should you be treated? Think about it, old world. How about now, today? You're doing something and you get it wrong. Well, there are two ways you can get it wrong. One way is you're doing something everyone knows how to do and you get it wrong. How should you be treated? Or you're doing something completely new, which nobody has ever done before. You try really hard. You kill all the aliens. You involve people. You learn together. And it's still a disaster. How should you be treated? Can you see? There is what we call dumb failure, and there is something called smart failure. And they're not the same. And one of the things I try and get people to do if they want to drive innovation into their organizations is to use the expression of smart and dumb failure as a way of getting the team around them to relax and bring ideas forward. If you just tell them, I expect you to take risks and do things, as the words leave your mouth, you think they're understanding them. But as they travel through the air and enter your ears, what they hear is, I want you to do silly things, get it all wrong, and then I'll fire you. You with me? So that's not the way forward. So I'm going to close at that point and just tell you a little story with one illustration. It's a project we did at the Design Council when we were looking at MRSA and bugs. And I have two images I want to share with you as we close. The first is this one. We went in and observed, a bit like the chap filming the ceiling. Observation is really useful. That is difficult to clean. Are you with me? So the way the physical environment is set up is difficult to clean. And then we started looking at things like how people engage. Have you ever had your blood pressure taken? They wrap that Velcro thing down around your arm, don't they? Well, I just want that one there. That's a plastic version. Because no one ever washes the Velcro ones. You with me? You really have to think hard about what's going on around you. I'm going to stop there. I'm just going to check and hope I've covered most of your hopes and none of your fears have come true. So the hopes were how to make things happen. Did you get enough on that? Some things? Yes, 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 yes. Good, good. How to... I can't remember. Yeah. How to... Oh, yes. How to break through the hierarchy bit. Ah. Yes? And then we've got... how to know what's going on elsewhere. Did we do that one as well? Talking to people, making sure they realize they don't have the whole answer. Did I do that? And then the fears. Everyone got at least one idea? Are we there? Time's up. Can I go? Thank you very much. Thanks.